Hey guys, how you doing today? Get some preliminaries out of the way. If you like our videos and our content, please share us with other people. Like, comment. Um we're going to try to get into some different topics, and if you've got topics that you might be interested in me uh, talking about or getting my opinion on, please comment and let me know, and I'll see what I can do with that. But today, uh, my thought is what being a father, um, you see all the crime and all the nonsense going on. I mean, you turn on your TV, you see it all the time, right? Uh, take just for instance, Chicago. You can go any big major city or whatever. You can think of the riots in 2020 and just any of that nonsense. But just go for Chicago for this past a couple weekends ago where they took over the city. I know we visited up there in northern Chicago a few years back. It's been a while, but we're going to ride the train in. We wanted to go into the city and see some stuff and whatever, and they had this train we could have went on, but apparently the kids at that time were getting on, had flash mobs. They're getting on and causing havoc, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not taking my family and risking that, so we didn't do that. Um, But I see all these young people out there wreaking havoc on everything. And I'm thinking, Where's their parents? Where's their parents, right? And so that got me to thinking about some things. And I knew, divorce has crept up over keeps creeping up. And it used to be just outside the church or whatever, but now even in the church, it's high 50% rate. Sometimes some areas it's 60%. And the fathers are not in the home. And a lot of times, even the mothers aren't even in the home. Grandparents are having to raise the kids because the mothers are having to go out and get jobs to support, so they may have to be doing two jobs to help raise their kids. And there's just not that family unit anymore. There's no father, there's no mother, and kids need both, right? I know we harp on fathers a lot of times for not being in the home, and it's kind of funny. We just had a men's conference this past weekend about fathers, and I was like, oh, that's what I was going to talk on, and it was about the men being fathers, being men, and but the women need to be there too, and it's not just being there. They were talking about you can be there and be absent. You can be there and not be engaged. And so we need to be there and be engaged. I'm guilty of the surfing the internet and all that good stuff, right? Looking things up. My son, he's the best at looking things up online. You give him something, he can find it. But we gotta be more than just on our phones and stuff and in front of the TV. And I'm, like I said, I'm guilty of that stuff. But it's about being engaged. But I'm gonna give some statistics, and some of these are a little outdated, uh, but it's only gone up since. It hasn't really came down. Um, I couldn't find any. I couldn't find a lot of like 2022 statistics that would give me the numbers I was really wanting to be, more relevant. But 22 million children grow up without a father. Let that sink in. You want to know why there's so much heartache in our world, and why there's so much confusion in our world, and why there's so much nonsense going on, the violence and all that. Well, if there's no man in the home, a father figure to not only love but to also have the discipline, then does that not relate? I think it does. Uh, Black fathers in 1960, it was at 19.9% fatherless homes in the Black community. In 2000, it's up 51.1%. Now, we're in 2020, or well, we're in 2023. Like I said, I was hoping to get some like figures, and I'm not as good at looking stuff up as my son is. Maybe I should have had him look it up. But 51.1%, and I think that's over 60% now, if I'm not mistaken. So, white fathers not in the home in 1960 was 6.1%. In 2000, it was 17.3%. Now, I hear people on the news a lot say, well, it's things are misproportioned, the blacks are being picked on more than the whites. And, well, okay, I'm not going to get into race baiting with you or whatever on that. But statistics correlate, right? When we see numbers, we can say, all right, this equals this. And we can start seeing patterns. And so I would encourage the black community to build your family units and get fathers back in your home. But it's gone up in the white community too, and we're starting to see the effects of that. So we need fathers in the home and we need mothers in the home, and there's just no if, ands, or buts about that. We need that. Child poverty in a married household in 2011, it was 10.9%. So child poverty in a married home with a couple is 10.9% in 2011. Female head of household, where there's no dad in the home, that poverty rate goes up to 47.6%. Again, if you look at the numbers, and you can start seeing why there's this discrepancy between the white community and the black community. Births out of wedlock. In 1980, it was 18.4%. 1980, 18.4%. That's shacking up and knocking boots and all that, having babies when you're not married. Not how God intended it. God intended a man and a woman to be married and to then have children, not beforehand. And I can give you statistics on that, how many homes end up in divorce when you shack up beforehand. It's crazy. So maybe I should have went there first and got that out of the way and said, hey, you want to keep your marriage together, start dating and not shacking up, and then your marriage will last a little longer and maybe last forever. So anyway, in 1980, it was 18.4%. In 2020, children out of wedlock is 40.5%. Again, numbers are there. They correlate with each other and they paint a picture. 25% of kids grow up without a father. 25%. Got some more real quick, like in a fatherless home. So in a fatherless home, this is a 2011 census. 90% of the homeless and runaways come from a fatherless home. 85% of youth in prison, 85% of youth in prison come from a fatherless home. 71% of high school dropouts come from a fatherless home. 120% greater risk of abuse in a fatherless home. 85% of child behavior disorders are from fatherless homes. 63% of youth are from fatherless homes. 7 times more likely to become pregnant as a teen in a fatherless home. Depression is up. Divorce is up. Substance abuse is up in a fatherless home. Education performance, life expectancy, average income, average income, and job security and health are all down in a fatherless home. Again, numbers, Yeah, you can make numbers lie, but these are this is from the census. This is not my numbers. These are numbers from the government. And we 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 know a lot of our government out there doesn't isn't exactly Christian friendly, right? They're not they're not trying to help us out any for the most part. So with those numbers, we can see that, you know what, God intended a man and a woman, not a man and a man or a woman and a woman to raise a child, but a man and a woman to raise a child. Why is that? Yeah, your authority figure, your man, most usually, who will teach your son or your daughter. It goes both ways. Uh, the boy needs that dad figure in there to show him how to build things, how to make things, how to survive, uh, how to keep him on track, um, be that disciplinarian. And then you have the mothers who are nurturing and have that nurture value, right? Dads, I'm not a nurturer. I'm not very good at when my son gets hurt, I laugh at him, I'm like, well, dummy, you shouldn't have done that. And but my wife, she'll scoop in there, or she'll start bandaging him up, cleaning him up, or whatever. And same with my daughters, you know, they need that father figure to know how to look for a man who loves his wife, right? So they need these lessons uh, from both the man and the woman in the marriage and household fig, uh, dynamic. Get my words here that I want to use. Um, so we need that, right? We got to have that so that we can teach our kids how to behave and how to act, and what kind of man to look for, or what kind of woman to look for, and where to look for them, right? So here's my rant today, or whatever, or my thought process is in Genesis, in the very beginning. I mean, uh, Genesis 1:26, it says, then God said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created male and female. There you go, guys. I'm on my last rant about homosexuals and the cross genders and stuff. God created male and female. He created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in numbers, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. So God gave us that right off the bat, how the family unit was going to be set up between a man and a woman. And I think of this, how God's like, we're going to give them rule over everything. They're going to learn how to create, and they're going to learn how to take care of the earth and all that good stuff. And so I think of that with my son, and you know I've taught him to work on cars, and I've taught him how to work on the farm, and my girls too. I mean, Kristen, when she was little, she'd come out to the garage when I was working on a car or something, and she'd be like, "Daddy, can I help?" And I'd show her what I was doing. I'd tell her, go on the other side and do what Daddy's doing. And she'd go over there and she'd start tearing stuff apart. And there's some bolts or whatever she couldn't get loose. And she'd be like, I can't get this loose. I'd go over and break it loose for her, and she'd take it off. But, and with Nick, my son, I help him and teach him, and he's learned, how to do some electric work. He's learned how to build things. He's learned how to work on cars, and, he's 18 years old and, getting ready to go out on his own and stuff. But he's learned not only that, but he's also learned how to love and how to care for people, because it's a responsibility of the father to teach his son how he should respect his wife, how he should care for his wife, how he should provide for his wife. And I think that gets left out way too many times. And so as we go on here just a little bit, I want to go over to Proverbs 1. And this is Solomon writing to his sons. And it says, the proverb of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, for attaining wisdom and discipline, for understanding word of insight, for acquiring a disciplined and prudent life, doing what is right and just and fair, for giving prudence to the simple, knowledge, and discretion to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. For understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. So, right off the bat, right there, I want to stop there. For the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Fathers, let me ask you this. Are you taking your kids to church? I have so many people when I was in ministry and stuff, they'll be like, well, my kids don't want to go to church and I don't want to force them because if I force them, then they won't want to go later. No, the Bible is serious about this. I mean, it says, if you teach a child the way they should go, they may veer off the track, but they'll come back to it. But if you don't teach them, where are they going to go, right? They have nothing to come back to. They have nothing to recenter their lives on. And so with this, I think, why aren't you got them in church? You're the parent. You're not a friend. Okay, first of all, and I'll get hate mail on this for sure. I can guarantee it. People say, well, I'm their best friend. No, you're not. You're the parent. Be a parent, right? Maybe if more people were parents, we wouldn't have all the garbage going on in our country, the rioting and the disregard for life and value of other people's property. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? You're not their best friend. You're the parent. Whether it's the man or the woman, you're the parent. And be a parent, get them in church, because when you get them in church, I know, like for my kids, sometimes when dad's preaching or whatever, it goes right over their head, right? They don't want to listen to what dad has to say. But that youth pastor or another man or another lady in the church can say the exact same things to my kids. And they're like, oh yeah, I get it. And that's why I love our youth pastor so much, Derek Willoughby. I mean, he is so good with the kids, and he pours God into their lives. And I've seen a difference in my kids since we've been going to this church. Yeah, they were listening to me. Yeah, they were getting some of the stuff but a lot of it was going over their head, right? But they found somebody else to confirm what dad was saying, right? So get your kids in church. That's the first way to start getting our world back from just the nonsense that's going on. If we can get them into church, get them to loving God and seeing the value of people and seeing the value of others' lives and not just focus on themselves, right? Getting focused on others. So it goes on to say, it says, listen, my son, to your father's instructions and do not forsake your mother's teaching. What? Wait a minute. What did I say earlier? That the family is supposed to be a father and a mother? Well, yeah. Do not listen to my son, to your father's instructions, teaching them, showing them what to do, how to build things, how to make things, how to be a man, how to be a woman, how to behave, and do not forsake your mother's teaching, the guidance and the nurturing and that a mother will bring. They will be a garland to excuse me. They will be a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not give in to them. If they say, come along with us, let's lie in wait for someone's blood, Let's waylay some harmless soul. Let's swallow them alive like the grave and whole like those who go down to the pit. We would get all sorts of valuable things and fill our house with plunder. Throw in your lot with us, and we will share a common purse. Wow. Doesn't that sound like what's going on in our world today? Hey, come with us. We're going to all get together and we're going to go downtown Chicago and we're going to ransack some stores and get stuff that's really not ours, but we're going to plunder and we're going to beat people up on the street, take their phones, take their shoes, take their watches. We're going to spill some blood. Yeah, that people say the Bible is not relevant. Well, hey, I'm reading it right here, and this is from centuries ago, right? Yeah. So it says, "My son, do not go along with them. Do not set foot on their paths, for their feet rush into sin. They are swift to shed blood. How useless to spread a net in full view of all the birds. These men lie in wait for their own blood. They waylay only themselves. Such is the end of all who go after ill-gotten gains." We see that. We see that up there in Chicago. Young men shooting young men all the time. And it's one gang over another gang or territorial or somebody said something. And lo and behold, it's right here in the Bible, right? It's right here. I mean, I'm just reading it. I mean, you want to get mad at somebody, I guess you need to get mad at God, because the Bible is the inspired word of God. And well, there you go. Such is the end of all who go after ill-gotten gains. It takes away the lives of those who get it. I know I've stumbled and blundered around in the reading there, but Bible's relevant, right? I mean, I just read to you out of the Old Testament, Proverbs, and it's basically telling what's going on in Los Angeles, in Atlanta, in Chicago, in New York City. I mean, and others. There's plenty of them. I'm just calling out a few that on top of my head. But you turn on the TV, you see a guy co-cock somebody with a bat, or you see somebody shoot somebody, or you see somebody go up and grab a girl and slam her to the ground and take off with her purse. No regard for human life, no regard for people's private property, no regard for businesses, right? They just go in and take what they want, steal what they want. And I have to say, where is the father? Where is the mother? And I know maybe this seems a little bit harsh or whatever, but I almost think that people ought to start getting held responsible for their children's actions. I know in Indiana years ago, I was little, they used to have this thing come on TV about 10 o'clock at night. It said, "Parents, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?" And my mama used to always tell me that nothing good happens after dark. And there's a lot of truth to that, right? There's a lot of truth to knowing where your children are and saying, "Hey, you know what? Be in the house by 9 o'clock, because there's nothing good going on outside after dark." You don't need to be out there running around. You don't need to be out there and become a victim. You don't need to be out there and become a criminal. So it's our responsibility as fathers and as mothers. And let me harp on the fathers, because it's kind of statistic. The statistics say that the fathers being out of the home is what's causing a lot of the problems in our country. And so, men, you need to buck up and be what you are called to be, and that's to be a dad and a father. If you get out there and you fool around and you have a son or a daughter, you need to be responsible for that son and that daughter. You need to raise that son and that daughter with the woman that you created that child with. And you don't want to have kids? Keep your legs closed, right? Uh, you don't want to have kids? Keep it in your pants. I mean, maybe that's a little crude or whatever, but hey, that's how you don't have kids. And so I'm asking you, be a dad, be a father, and be a good husband so your kids can see what it is to love somebody unconditionally. And the best place to learn that and to figure that all out is in your word, getting in God's word, and just studying how He loved us unconditionally, because that's where it comes from. It comes from the unconditional love of Jesus Christ for us. And encourage you to get into church, get your family into church. Dads, uh, the statistics, I'll have to get the numbers for that, but statistically, a father that comes to church is incredible. How the family uh, will follow the father. A lot of times, if the mother just goes to church and not the father, the numbers are way lower if the kids and everybody will follow along. But when the dad goes, it's way up there. I'm thinking it's like 80-90% that the whole family will be in church. So, guys, your kids are looking up to you. Uh, they're wanting somebody to follow. And if you're not in the home, then who are they going to follow? Right? All these drug dealers out here love to have a hold of them. All these gang members out here would love to have a hold of them. They don't love them. You see them as an opportunity to make a quick buck off of them. You know, they'll get your son to stand on a corner and peddle drugs, or they'll get your son to go door to door delivering drugs. The younger, the better, right? I mean, when I was a kid, I got into that. When I was a kid, we had a local drug dealer in our neighborhood, and he would get us kids to take drugs and take them to the people's houses. The reason he did that is if we got caught with the drugs, it'd be a slap on the wrist or whatever. He got caught with the drugs, he'd be in a whole lot of trouble. So he'd use little kids to peddle his stuff for him. And so, yeah, I'm telling you, if you're not going to be a father, you're not going to be taking care of them, somebody else will get a hold of them. And then we see the garbage that we're seeing throughout our country. And I say, let's take back our country, right? Let's take it back from the woke stuff. Let's take it back from the transgenders and all the sexual immorality. And let's be good fathers, good mothers. And let's just take our country back. How about that? Let's just take our country back. It starts in the family. That's where it starts. You want to take our country back? Take your family back first. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I pray that this will go out and get into people's hearts, Lord, and that they'll think about where they're at. If they're not a father or going to be a father, maybe down the road, and that they'll say, I need to make sure that I'm doing it the right way. And Lord, there's those fathers out there that have forsaken their kids and have abandoned their kids, and maybe this will hit them, and they'll say, you know what, maybe I need to be a better person, and I need to try to co-parent or try to actually be the father and get married and do it the right way, the way Jesus intended, the way God had set it up all in the beginning. Man and woman raising a family. And so, Lord, if there's people out there that are struggling and just need to come to a saving knowledge of you, Lord, I pray that they would find a church or find a godly man or godly woman that they can go to that would lead them to a saving knowledge of you, Lord, that they'd find a good church to get plugged into, that they would bring their family into. Lord, I pray for our country. Our country's a mess, and it starts with the family, right? It starts with coming to you and knowing you and just showing our families how important the Bible is, how important serving God is. And Lord, we just want to serve you. We want to praise you. We want to give you glory. And Lord, I just pray this, like I said, I just pray this goes out and find somebody this week, Lord, that this message or this little talk would just impact their lives, and maybe a family will be saved from this little talk. Lord, I appreciate you. I thank you, and I give you all glory and honor. Amen. See you guys.